Dude, what the fuck? Wait, am I streaming right now? How does this work? You know, I don't remember YouTube streaming working like this. I had to do like a whole fuck. I'm using like the embedded ability. Holy crap, it's working. Dude, what the fuck? Wait, am I streaming right now? All right. Yeah. So I'm gonna be doing my AP Gov homework on call or on stream, because this is the only possible way I can hold myself accountable. Because I'm a horrible student. So let's go, guys. Let's go display capture. Okay. Here we got my homework in the background here. Let's lock in, guys. Let's lock in. Let's do some homework, guys. Let's do some homework. Yeah, I need to poop really bad right now. That's like one thing. I don't know if anybody's gonna watch the stream either. It's my tenor ukulele, but I tuned it like a regular ukulele. You're not supposed to do that, but I did it. So I'm freaking crazy. Okay, let's do this. So I got a swell article in front of me that I'm going to read. Yeah. Okay. So I'm freaking crazy. Okay, let's do this. So I got this is gonna cause like feedback in a second. Got a swell article. Okay, so I'm gonna start doing the homework in a second. I have to take a giant poop. I'll be right back. do some homework. I'm gonna open the window. Oh, fuck. It's hot. It's fucking hot. Okay. And the band on the run. Band on the run. When the Undertaker drew a heavy sigh, seeing no one else had come. Band on the run. Communicating with the huzz. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. So, 16th of April, 1963. What's happening in 1963? Bob Dylan had just put out his debut. He put out no, he didn't. He put out Freewheelin' in 1963. While confined here in Birmingham jail, I came across your recent statement calling my present activities unwise and untimely. Seldom do I pause to answer criticism of my work and ideas. If I sought to answer all the criticisms that crossed my desk, my secretaries would have little time for anything other than such correspondence in the course of the day. Wow, he's got a beautiful way of writing. What a cool, sexy guy. I think I should indicate why I'm here in Birmingham. Since I'm going to do this in Google Docs file. Because there's a bunch of questions. Holy shit, stop blowing up my fucking phone. Okay. Okay. And I'd have no time for constructive work, but since I feel that you men are of genuine good and your criticisms are sincerely set forth, I will try to answer your statement in what I hope will be patient and reasonable terms. I think I should indicate why I'm here in Birmingham. Since you have been influenced by the views which argue against outsiders coming in, I have the honor of serving as a president in the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, an organization operating in every southern state. I mean, with headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, we have some 85 affiliated organizations across the South. One of them is the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights. I hate it when theater kids do the Southern accent. It's not funny. Frequently, we share staff, educational, and financial resources with our affiliates. Several months ago, the affiliate here in Birmingham asked us to be on call to engage in a nonviolent direct action program if such were deemed necessary. We readily consented, and when the hour came, we lived up to our promise. So I, along with several members of my staff, am here because I was invited here. I am here because I have organizational ties here. But more basically, I am in Birmingham because injustice is here. Just as the prophets of the 8th century BC left their villages and carried their "Thus saith the Lord" far beyond the boundaries of their hometowns, just as Apostle Paul left his village of Tarsus and carried the gospel of Jesus Christ to the far corners of the Greco-Roman world, so am I compelled to carry the gospel of freedom beyond my own hometown. Like Paul, I must constantly respond to the Macedonian call for aid. Moreover, I am cognizant of all the interrelatedness of all communities and states. I cannot sit idly in Atlanta and not be concerned about what happens in Birmingham. Injustice is a threat to justice everywhere. Where was I? But we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Wow, Martin Luther King truly had a beautiful prose. He wrote like a poet. This guy, and his voice is echoed from. He's the beautiful preacher tone. He sounded like a. You deploy the demonstrations taking place in Birmingham, but your statement, I'm fails to say, expresses a similar concern for the conditions. Okay. Whatever one affects us directly affects us all indirectly. Never again can we afford to live with the narrow, provincial, outside agitator idea. Anybody who lives in the United States can never be considered an outsider anywhere within its bounds. This is some pretty smart shit that good old MLK is spitting right now. And you deplore the demonstrations taking place in Birmingham, but your statement, I'm sorry to say, fails to express a similar concern for the conditions that brought about the demonstrations. I'm sure none of you would want to rest content with the kind of superficial social analysis that deals merely with effects and does not grapple with underlying causes. It is unfortunate that demonstrations are taking place in Birmingham, but it is even more unfortunate that the city's white power structure left the Negro community with no alternative. In any nonviolent campaign, there are 4 steps. Collection of the facts to determine whether injustices exist. Negotiation, self-purification, and direct action. We have gone through these steps in Birmingham. There can be no gainsaying. What the fuck does gainsaying mean? Okay. Contradict. Akita just said that. Okay, I completely lost my. Okay. There can be no gainsaying in the fact that racial injustice engulfs this community. Birmingham is probably the most thoroughly segregated city in the United States. Its ugly record of brutality is widely known. Negroes have experienced grossly unjust treatments in these courts. There have been more unsolved bombings of Negro homes and churches in Birmingham than any other city in the nation. These are hard, brutal facts of the case. On the basis of these conditions, Negro leaders sought to negotiate with the city fathers, but the latter refused to engage in good faith negotiation. Then last September came the opportunity to talk with the leaders of Birmingham's economic community. In the course of such negotiations, certain promises were made by merchants, for example, to remove the store's humiliating racial signs. On the basis of these returns, the Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth and the leaders of the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights agreed to a moratorium on all demonstrations. What the fuck is a moratorium? So many words, I don't know. Okay. Moratorium, a temporary prohibition of activity. I love when people send me weird shit on Instagram and then that's all they do. They just send me weird shit on Instagram. But you get a life. Okay. All right. On all demonstrations. Yep. Wait, what? Okay. And as the weeks and months went by, we realized that we were ourselves were the victims of a broken promise. A few signs briefly returned, the others remained. As in so many past experiences, our hopes had been blasted, and the shadow of deep disappointment settled upon us. We had no alternative except to prepare for direct action, whereby we would present our very bodies as a means of laying our case before the conscience of the local and national community. Mindful of the difficulties involved, we decided to undertake a process of self-purification. We began a series of workshops on nonviolence, and we repeatedly asked ourselves, are you able to accept blows without retaliating? Are you able to endure the ordeal of jail? We decided to schedule our direct action program for the Easter season, realizing that except for Christmas, this is the main shopping period of the year. Knowing that a strong economic withdrawal program would be the product of direct action, we felt that this would be the best time to bring pressure to bear on the merchants for the needed change. Then it occurred to us that Birmingham's mayoral election was coming up in March, and we speedily decided to postpone until after Election Day, when we discovered that the Commissioner of Public Safety, Eugene Bull Connor, had piled up enough votes to be in the runoff. We decided again to postpone action until the day after the runoff so that the demonstrations could not be used to cloud the issues. And like many others, we waited to see Mr. Connor defeated. And to this end, we endured postponement after postponement. What's up?
Why do you have the window open?
It's hot in here.
Okay. I was gonna say you can take the bus to school, Carvet, and then when you're done with student government, I can pick you up.
Okay. Okay.
It's up to you, okay? So if you get up and do the bus, do that. Or you have to take the car and go find parking and all that.
No viewers. Let's look. Blood is locking in for real. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You may ask why direct action? Why sit-ins, marches, and so forth? Isn't negotiation a better path? You are quite right in calling for a negotiation. Indeed, this is the very purpose of direct action. Nonviolent action seeks to create such a crisis and foster such a tension that a community which has constantly refused to negotiate is forced to confront the issue. It seeks to dramatize. Dude. Yeah, okay. Yeah. What's up with... Okay, let's keep reading. Indeed, this is the very we already read this. It seeks to dramatize the issues so, it can no longer be ignored. My citing the creation of tension is as a part of the work of the nonviolent resistor may sound rather shocking, but I must confess that I am not afraid of the word tension. I have earnestly opposed violent tension. But there is a type of construction nonviolent tension that is necessary for growth, just as Socrates felt it was necessary to create a tension in the mind so that individuals could rise from the bondage of myths and half-truths to the unfettered realm of creative analysis and objective appraisal. So we must see the need for the nonviolent gadflies. What is a gadfly? An annoying person. Okay. So we must see the need for nonviolent gadflies to create the kind of tension in society that will help men rise from the dark depths of prejudice and racism to the majestic heights of understanding and brotherhood. How did he fit all this in the letter? The purpose of our direct action program is to create a situation so crisis-packed that it will inevitably open the door to negotiation. I therefore concur with you in your call for negotiation. Too long Our beloved Southland has been bogged down in a tragic effort to live in the monologue rather than the dialogue. Dude. These guys need to shut the hell up. Don't stop blowing up my phone. If you're gonna blow up my phone, did you hear that? If you're gonna blow up my phone, you should just go kill yourself. You know, I don't care if I get banned from. Actually, I don't. I was joking. Do not live for yourself. Okay. Let's keep going. One of our basic points. Oh, fuck. Okay. Sorry, so much. Okay. One of the basic points in your statement is that the action that I and my associates have taken in Birmingham is untimely. Some have asked, why don't you give this new city administration time to act? The only answer I can give to this query is that the new Birmingham administration must be prodded about as such as the outgoing one before it will act. We are sadly mistaken if we feel that the election of Albert Boutwell as mayor will bring the new millennium to Birmingham. While Mr. Boutwell is a much more gentle person than Mr. Connor, they are both segregationists, dedicated to the maintenance of the status quo. I have the hope that Mr. Boutwell will be reasonable enough to see the futility of massive resistance to desegregation, but he will not see this without pressure from the devotees of civil rights. My friends, I must say to you that we have not made a single gain in civil rights without determined legal and nonviolent pressure. Lamentably, it is an historical fact that privileged groups seldom give up their privileges voluntarily. Individuals may see the moral light and voluntarily give up their unjust posture, but as Reinhold Niebuhr has reminded us, groups tend to be more immoral than individuals. We know through painful experience that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. Frankly, I have yet to engage in a direct action campaign that was well-minded or well-timed in the view of those who have not suffered unduly from the disease of segregation. For years now, I have heard the word wait. It rings in the ear of every black person with piercing familiarity. This wait has almost always meant never. We must come to see, with one of our distinguished jurists, that justice too long delayed is justice denied. We have waited for more than 340 years for our constitutional and God-given rights. The nations of Asia and Africa are moving with jet-like speed towards political independence, but we still creep at a horse and buggy race towards a gaining cup of coffee at a lunch counter. Perhaps it is easy for those who have never felt the stinging darts of segregation to say wait, but have you seen such vicious mobs lynch your mothers and your fathers and drown your sisters and brothers' whim? Have you seen the hate-filled policemen curse, kick, and even kill your black brothers and sisters? When you see the vast majority of your 20 million black brothers smothering in an airtight cage of poverty in the midst of an affluent society. When you suddenly find your tongue twisted and your speech stammering as you seek to explain to your 6-year-old daughter why she can't even go to the public amusement park that has been advertised on television, and see tears welling up in her eyes when she is told that Funtown is closed to colored children. And you see ominous clouds of inferiority beginning to form in her mental little sky. You see her beginning to distort her personality by developing an unconscious bitterness towards white people. When you have to concoct an answer for your 5-year-old son who's asking, Daddy, why do the white people treat the colored people so mean? When you take a cross-country drive and find it necessary to sleep night after night in the uncomfortable corners of your automobile because no motel will accept you. When you are humiliated day in, day out by nagging signs reading white and colored. When I can't say that. When your first name becomes the N-word, your middle name becomes Boy, and your last name becomes John, and your wife and mother are never given the respected title Mrs., when you are harried every day and night, haunted by the fact that you are a black person. living constantly at tiptoe stance, never quite knowing what to expect next, and are plagued with the inner fears and outer resentments. When you are forever fighting a degenerating sense of nobodiness, then you will ask why we find it so difficult to wait. There comes a time when the cup of endurance runs over, and men are no longer willing to be plunged into the abyss of despair. I hope, sirs, you can understand our legitimate and unavoidable impatience. You express a great deal of anxiety over willingness to break laws. This is certainly a legitimate concern, but since we so diligently urge people to obey the Supreme Court's decision of 1954 outlawing segregation in public schools, at a first glance it may seem rather paradoxical for us to consciously break laws. One may ask, how can you advocate breaking some laws and obeying others? The answer lies in the fact that there are just two types of laws, just and unjust. I would be the first to advocate obeying just laws. One has not a legal, but a moral responsibility to obey laws. Conversely, one has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. I would agree with St. Augustine that an unjust law is no law at all. Oh, man. That's a lot of reading. Okay. Now, what is the difference between the two? How does one determine whether a law is just or unjust? A just law is a man-made code that squares with the moral law or law of God. An unjust law that is out of harmony with moral law, to put it in the terms of St. Thomas Aquinas, an unjust law is a human law that is rooted in eternal law and natural law. Any law that uplifts. It's getting hard to read, dude. It's getting hard to read this. Do I have viewers? Okay. To search forevermore. Oh, what's up, Danzig? Did you read this for class too? Did you read this for class? Dude, this is like absurdly long. I don't even know how he fit this all on paper. Like, holy crap. Holy crap. Okay, this is like beautiful piece of literature. This is a beautiful piece of literature. It's just so freaking long. Like, Jesus Christ. This is why I really love AP Gov. Okay. Time to lock back in. An unjust law is a code. Wait. Now, what is the difference between the two? How can one determine whether a law is just or unjust? A just law is a man-made code that squares with the moral law of God. An unjust law is a code that is out of harmony with the moral laws. To put it in the terms of St. Thomas, an unjust law is a human law that is not rooted in eternal law and natural law. Any law that uplifts human personality is just. Any law that degrades human personality is unjust. All segregation statutes are unjust because segregation distorts the soul and it damages the personality. It gives the segregator a false sense of superiority and the segregated a false sense of inferiority. Segregation, to use the terminology of Jewish philosopher Martin Buber, substitutes an I, it, for in relationship, I, thou. Relationship ends up relegating persons to the status of things. Hence, segregation is not politically, economically, and sociologically unsound. It is morally wrong and sinful. Paul Tillich has said that sin is separation. Is not segregation an existential expression of a man's tragic separation, his awful estrangement, his terrible sinfulness? Thus, it is that I urge men to disobey the 1954 decision of the Supreme Court, for it is morally right, and I urge them to disobey segregation ordinances, for they are morally wrong. Let us consider a far more concrete example of just and unjust laws. An unjust law is a law. Jesus fucking Christ. An unjust law is a numerical or power majority. Um. How do I design? How do I design a transportation system that uses only roller skates and bubblegum to navigate city traffic? I don't know. It sounds like you need to hop on City Skylines, dude. I think you could turn the bubblegum into highways. That's my plan. Anyways, let's keep reading. Okay. Okay. An unjust law is a code that a numerical or power majority group compels a minority group to obey, but does not make binding on itself. This difference is made legal by the same token. A just law that a majority compels a minority to follow, and that is willing to follow itself. This is the sameness made legal. Let me give another explanation. A law is unjust if inflicted on a minority that is, as a result, is being denied the right to vote, had no part in enacting or devising the law. Who can say that the legislator of Alabama, who set up the state's segregation laws, was democratically elected? Throughout Alabama, all sorts of devious methods are being used to prevent black people from becoming registered voters. And there are some counties in which, even though black people constitute a majority of the population, not a single black person is registered. How can any law under such circumstances be considered democratically structured? Sometimes a law is on its face and unjust in sometimes a law is just on its face and unjust in application. For instance, I have been arrested on a charge of parading without a permit. Now, there's nothing wrong in having an ordinance which requires a permit for a parade, but such ordinance becomes unjust when it is used to maintain segregation and to deny citizens the First Amendment privilege of peaceful assembly and protest. I hope you are able to see the distinction I'm trying to point out. In no sense do I advocate evading or defying the law, as would be the rabid segregationist that would lead to anarchy. One who breaks an unjust law must do so openly, lovingly, and with willingness to accept the penalty. I submit that an individual who breaks a law that conscience tells him is unjust, and who willingly accepts the penalty of imprisonment in order to arouse the conscience of community over its injustice, is in reality expressing the highest respect for the law. What? What?
Oh, I was just saying it's almost midnight.
I'm doing my AP Gov homework.
Almost midnight, Bubba.
I'm doing my AP Gov homework.
School tomorrow.
I'm doing my AP Gov homework. Alright. Alright, I don't think I have any viewers anymore. They're probably all tapped out now. They're probably all asleep. Yeah, there we go. What the fuck? Message retracted. What did you type, Nancy? Oh god. Okay. Gotta keep walking in. Gotta keep walking in, guys. Okay. Of course, there's no willingness. There's nothing new to this kind of civil disobedience. It was evidenced sublimely from the refusal of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Oh, that was close. To obey the laws of Nebuchadnezzar. I know how to say that. On the ground that higher moral law was at stake. It was practiced superbly by the early Christians, who were willing to face hungry lions and the excruciating pain of chopping blocks rather than to submit to the unjust laws of the Roman Empire. To a degree, academic freedom is a reality today because Socrates practiced civil disobedience. In our own nation, the Boston Tea Party represented a massive act of civil disobedience. We should never forget that everything Adolf Hitler did in Germany was legal, and everything the Hungarian freedom fighters did in Hungary was illegal. And it was illegal to aid and comfort a Jew in Hitler's Germany. Even so, I'm sure that had I lived in Germany at the time, I would have aided and comforted my Jewish brothers. If today I lived in a communist country where certain principles dear to the Christian faith are oppressed, I would openly advocate disobeying that country's anti-religious laws. I must make two confessions with you, my Christian and Jewish brothers. First, that over the past years I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have reached the regrettable conclusion that the black person's great stumbling block. I think I read this. Oh, God. All right, you know, guys, I'm gonna read the questions on my paper, and okay, yeah, I've read more than enough to be able to successfully answer the questions. Okay. Who is Dr. King's audience, and what is his purpose for writing to them? Okay. Dr. King. Dr. King is writing. Who is he really writing to? It was like to yeah. In Birmingham, unjust, which was a nonsensical act of hypocrisy, prejudice, considering to a registered charity. One part of the United States. Okay, yeah. Totally affects the whole. Band on the run. To wait. To revolutionize. In reality, this means nothing. This means nothing. In reality, this means nothing. Is needed to accomplish anything. Thank you, Google Docs. Okay. Dude, why is my cursor turned white? That's like so dumb. Okay. Be tension. Okay. Why do you think the primary factors that made Dr. King was incredibly state registered charity. Where did he was talking about some guy that he quoted named Ned something? Neighbor. Incredibly clear, concise, or enacting change. His direct, his whole. Incredibly persuasive. And clear prose. Where he deconstructs. Completely deconstructs. The need to disobey. These specific quotes from the text. Okay. Reproduced. Wow, Okay, I feel like this is gonna get people. I feel like they're gonna think this is AI. Just run it through. Hopefully not, because this is not AI. I freaking wrote this. What? Oh well, okay. I literally. Okay. Let's do this. Let's turn this in. Fucking finally, right? Okay. Search. Alright, cool guys, I locked in.